Let's talk about
Thank you very
Nigeria's
much.
seaports. Already we've talked about some issues, how congested some of the ports, predominantly the Lagos ports, can be. Now, for this investment that Nigeria has secured from MAERSK, $600 million, what are the areas do you think this should be channeled to as it is geared towards expanding infrastructure at Nigeria's seaports?
Borrowing is not a bad decision, but the use to which borrowing is done or is applied is what determines whether it is bad or not. Like I said, Nigeria, we have become consistent about borrowing, but we have not been so strategic and efficient about the use of our borrowing. Most of the time, our borrowing are not put into investment areas that can return and they can repay and build on the borrowing. Do you understand? That can repay the principal of the borrowing in due time, as well as pay back at the same time, level up our growth and development within the economy. So you are asking of the alternative investments which this $600 million debt could be put into. Now I'm talking about, global agricultural enterprise, right? We need a lot of investment in our agriculture. Food shortage is one of the global crises all over the world. And Nigeria has that opportunity, the resourcefulness and the land, the natural resource and the resourcefulness, the people to do it. But the infrastructure is a basic consideration. There's also the need for us to improve on our logistic infrastructures to a large extent too, where we have production that cannot get to the market or to the strategic places where the products that are coming from the farm are needed, then it will become a problem because there will be shortage of supply. And when there is shortage of supply, definitely it can make market. You will lose fund, you will lose your investment, and you will lose return. Also, we also need investment in terms of energy. These are core drivers of the economy. In the manufacturing sector, we also need that. We also need a lot of investment in youth development and IT. That is, so in information technology, we require a lot of investment there. Nigeria has a wonderful human resource component. Our human capital base is so solid and so vast. So investment in human capital in terms of what IT, infrastructures, power, and trainings will, to a large extent, is going to buttress our productivity within the economy. We are more of a consumer-driven economy, right? We do a lot of import. We are not doing so much of export simply because we don't have the core basics, the necessities to promote this. And that's why we're asking that even in agriculture alone, there are times when a particular sector, if you think agriculture is not lucrative or not attractive, we have not made them attractive, right? If we make them attractive, provide the relevant trainings and implement tools, in a mechanized form, in a sophisticated form, like it's done in other neighboring countries, you'll find out that people pick interest in that. And it's going to cut down unemployment. It's going to increase well-being, social well-being, and it's going to increase food production, not only for local consumption, for export. And in areas where we have been doing well with the production, we have not been doing very well with processing. That's the problem that we have with oil today. We have oil, but we don't process. And that's why we have to buy processed. So, and the exchange value for a raw material and a processed material, a processed product, they are not the same, right? You could get raw cocoa from Ibadan, from Ikom, but then you would have to import chocolate at a higher price. Why? Because the cocoa that you brought at peanuts will be paid with what? With fortunes to get chocolate. So why can't we become the chocolate exporting nation if we have so much of cocoa? And there are other natural resources that we have. We have the land, right? But there's nothing that we cannot do in Nigeria if there is what? The political and the leadership will to do that. So there are diverse areas in which this investment can also be spread across so that we don't have a mono economy, right? A monoeconomy simply means there is only one source in which we are looking at what generation of income. We have been oil dependent for over a long time. It's time for us to be able to also export our intellectual capital. What we've been having is what is not intellectual exports, right? Because we don't get rewarded for it. We have been having intellectual flight. That's why you find a lot of human resources from Nigeria are migrating into other areas where they can flourish and also build the economies of those countries. Why is it impossible for us to have this ingenuity being invested in our own natural soil, and then we become what? An export. We begin to export our intellectual capacity, right? So if we invest in youth and development, in education, in health, the core areas, governance is systemic, right? Leadership is systemic, right? And if there is a good coordination of the elements that form the system that determines the growth, then you will have a healthy growth, in the sense that you will not be having a lot of what? Expenses beyond your income. The moment your expenses supersede your income, your upkeep will become your downfall. So these critical areas in terms of manufacturing, real sector, manufacturing, processing, right? Infrastructural what? Development, intellectual trainings and development. These are areas in which what? We require what? Investment. In agriculture, in information technology, in education, in health, right? In agriculture. The moment we make these sectors attractive, you will find out that there will be a large amount of what? Growth that will become what? Internationally attractive. And sourcing for investment will become very comfortable. You become an investment reliable economy, right? Because the basic for investments are already created, right? There will be no need for people migrating. People will not be escaped. We will not have the best of our hands escaping from our soil, right? They escape from here and they flourish in other places. Why can't we make our soil as green as possible for our own consumption and for sales as well? So I believe that if we invest in agriculture, invest in IT, invest in our educational and in medical areas, I believe that these funds will be maximized, and in real sector, in manufacturing as well.
All right, Julius, let's situate this along the line of where this money is coming from and what is intended to be used for. So this $600 million came from MAERSK, which is the biggest shipping company operating in Nigeria. In fact, they handle most of the cargo in and out of Nigeria. They've already invested $2 billion in Nigeria. So the $600 million the investing now brings it to about 2.6 billion that they have invested in Nigeria's seaport or Nigeria seaport infrastructure, because that is the area of their business as well. Now, what areas do you think this investment should be channeled into as it concerns expanding Nigeria's seaport infrastructure?
Sorry. Hello, I lost you for a second. Hello.
All right, go ahead. Did you get the question? About the company where this $600 million investment came from. They are the biggest shipping company operating in Nigeria. They handle most of the cargo in and out of Nigeria. They've already invested about $2 billion in Nigeria. And now they're investing another $600 million, bringing to a total about $2.6 billion that they've invested in Nigeria. That's the area of their business. Now, what are the areas when it concerns seaports, when it concerns seaport infrastructure in Nigeria, do you think this investment should be channeled to? And how should Nigeria's seaport be managed? You've talked about encouraging production for exports as well, so that it aids not just import, but also facilitates exports.
Okay. Now, the other areas that I'll consider, that I think they should consider for investment would be expanding the channels of the seaport, maybe increasing the number of seaports that we have in the areas viable for them. right? When the seaports are close to areas of production, it enables, the efficiency of service, right? Now, the truth is this: investments, like we all know, will always go in the direction of gravity, where it is highly rewarded and highly needed, right? Highly rewarded and highly needed. If their investment is not profitable in Nigeria, of course, they won't have additional investment. But there is the need for us to balance. It should be a win-win, in the sense that we are expanding the utility of the investment in such a way that our relationship with them is sustained. Now, if we can go ahead and do a good analysis of the first set of investment, how far has it moved us from where we used to be in terms of our seaport and its management? And now, what is the rate of our efficiency? There's been a measure of what efficiency in terms of services, but then we can do much more better than that. Like, for instance, in Lagos, we're still talking about congestion in Lagos. If there's congestion in Lagos, what other ways can the congestion and the traffic in Lagos be distributed? I know Onair once received one of the largest vessels at one time. So if there are alternative seaports, more seaports, the low engaged seaports can also be upgraded in capacity to be able to do as much as Lagos is doing. Then you'll find out that there will be a healthy competition among the seaports. It will make service more efficient, and you find distribution. There will be proper distribution of capacity utilization on all the seaports. And there are other seaports that are not that require maybe road network. So now, all other elements that are related to the services of the seaport must also be considered. Because if they focus on only the seaport investments alone, and the areas that are tied to the seaport investments are not in good shape, then there's going to be a problem of delivery. Those you have speed of delivery will now be hindered. So when you have congestion, definitely is going to truncate supply, right? Goods will not get to the people that they are supposed to get to at the time they are supposed to get to them. And when that happens, what happens is that there will be some form of technical shortage, and there will be inflation, there will be crisis in one way or the other as regards to the item of delivery. Since it's service, right? All the other areas, elements connected to that service delivery to make it perfect must be considered. Right? In the areas, there's got to be a strategic map that shows the process from its start point to its finish stage. Not only what happens within the seaport. If we localize the efficiency of our investment to only what happens in the seaport, then we will not be getting complete delivery. We will not be having 100 capacity utilization of the investments. It's just like you have someone in the body parts, right? And then your arm is not working well. Even if you can think so well, there are things that your thinking has to do with your hands. So the moment you neglect the functionality of the hand, the thinking that requires the use of the hands is truncated. So you find out that you are not maximizing the utility of your brain because you ignore the functioning of your hand, right? So what I'm saying is that the other areas that require investment will be determined by the other connecting areas to what the seaport functionalities are. For right now, for a population of over 230 million, of course, the number of seaports that we have today is not enough. There have got to be alternative seaports to the ones we presently have. For instance, if you look at China, for instance, now, China has one of the highest numbers of seaports, and you can see how the growth and development of China is galloping. Why? Because they have created the infrastructural base for that opportunity to be able to thrive. So in essence, the other areas that require focus will be the connecting, the related element to the port investment, to the seaport investment. Number one, the fact that more seaports are required. So we need alternative what seaports in addition to the ones presently existing. There is need for upgrade of the low performing seaports to be able to accommodate what exactly the high performing seaports are doing, so that we can tackle the problem of congestion and make the low performing seaports attractive. Now, in terms of location of alternative seaport, then the cost to benefit analysis is required to be done. These are strategic things that even MAERSK, I mean, the investment company they are already aware of. Right? It's just for us to provide the facility for that to happen, and we'll find out that that would happen seamlessly. Right? So I think that's the other areas in which investments are required. Alternative seaports that will connect areas of production to areas of start to finish process becomes simplified. Ease of access and use becomes upgraded. So I think if we cover those areas, we would have done a good job with the investments that we are making.
All right, interesting. Let's get back to the genesis of the $600 million investment in seaport construction in Nigeria. You're aware that it took the intervention of the president to be able to secure this kind of investment. And if you look at the track records of this company, AP Moller, who are facilitating this investment, they are one of the biggest players in that sector in Nigeria. Now, what do you make of this move to secure investment, from foreign investors by the president? Could it be as a result of the fact that investors are now having confidence in the Nigerian project, or the fact that they're looking at the potential inherent in the maritime sector in Nigeria? And what should be done to also attract this kind of investment henceforth?
Thank you very much for that question. Yes, I would agree with you, and I want to throw the line of the fact that they are seeing the potential. Nigeria has always been a fertile soil for investors. The only thing is the confidence of sustaining the investment and the integrity of the process, the integrity of leadership, the integrity of governance, the integrity of the process. These three levels of integrity are primarily important, right? There are instances where investments are sought for political and diplomatic reasons. There are instances where investments are sought because the potentials are already inherent, right? Now, like I said, Nigeria is a fertile ground for investment, for foreign investment. But how comfortable and how confident do we make our investors? We are an investment potential nation, but then the investment confidence lies in our hand. For instance, to make our nation, Nigeria, continuously investment attractive, there is a need to be able to handle perfectly the issue of security. Nobody wants to invest where they can't go home to sleep at night, right? The issue of security must be efficiently tackled, right? And the fact that it is, Nigeria is fertile for investment also shows that there is a need for us to have a win-win in all our investment practices, in the sense that the investment not only benefits those that are investing, but also is a grant, is a nursery for our own ingenious development and growth, right? While somebody is investing on your soil, right, there is the transfer, build, operate, and transfer strategy that enables you to also create a prototype of that kind of investment in other nations for export reasons, right? So it is basically based on the potential that no player, no investor moves into a location that is investment barren or that is not investment viable to commit their own hard-earned funds. No investor does that. The investment is an intelligent calculation. You must have done your maths before coming in. And where there are potentials, you can know exactly, you are able to calculate over time when what your payback period is going to be. Do you understand? So whatever it is that your payback is going to be. So I can agree and I can establish the fact that Nigeria is an investment potential nation. Everywhere around Nigeria, you will see the potentials of that investment growing. But how well are we doing our house cleaning in order to become investment attractive and not to be pursuing investors? It's a different thing when the government has to, when the president or leadership has to go in search of investment. And it's a different ball game when investors are coming to seek our permission to invest on our soil. They are two different things. The costs varies. When you are going to pursue the investment and the covenants and the agreement, the memorandum of understanding is more on the side of the person you are pursuing. The bargaining power lies with the person that you are pursuing. But when you have a magnetic economy, an economy that is being prepared and positioned to attract investors, you will be the one that has the bargaining power. You determine what is going to be the terms of what that investment commitment. So to a large extent, we'll say it is firmly first because of the potential that is inherent in the Nigerian soil. That is why this investment is coming. And then for us to be able to make this particular investment to be a win-win, there are also house cleaning that must be done. There must be enabling policies. There must be infrastructural support that will enable them to thrive. There are investors that have left Nigeria. What were the reasons why they left, right? What are the lessons and the corrections that have been taken from those processes? And what are we currently doing to ensure that such instances don't repeat themselves? Who are the people that go through our investment memorandums, the contract terms? I know there are quite a number of intellectuals that are on board of this. But then what exactly are the terms that determine how well this investment is favorable to the growth and development of Nigeria? And again, what is the Nigerians' blueprint for investment and growth, for promoting investment locally and internationally within our own enclave, right? There is a need for have a national investment blueprint, right, that determines what kind of investment is required in the space of time for this. And there is a clear-cut policy that drives that supports it and ensure that it is profitable to both the investor at the same time Nigeria as a nation.
All right, let's look at the security situation around the other port areas that Nigeria has. So MAERSK has physical locations in Nigeria, in offices in places like Port Harcourt in Lagos, and these are the areas that they usually do their business. Now, the fund or the investment is to expand infrastructure so that Nigeria can take on larger volumes of trade. Now, if the decongestion of the port is to work, will it work with the security concerns? How can security concerns around the other ports, like the Warri port, like the Port Harcourt ports, and some other areas that could, the river port or seaport in Nigeria could be developed? How can that be handled so that Lagos, perhaps, can take on more volumes of trade?
Thank you very much for that question. And the truth is this: nobody can know your house like you. The sincere truth is that there has to be a stakeholders dialogue, right? The essence of the seaport and whatever happens within the seaport is basically for the growth and the development of Nigeria as a whole. Where security concerns happen is where there is conflict of interest and there is neglect, right? In some areas where we have a minority, maybe there are political interests in certain areas, and there is minority commitment in those areas. Where you have areas where major economic transactions happen and their well-being and welfare is impoverished compared to the areas where these resources are being utilized, then you find out that there'll be reactions, right? Like in the locality, we talk about Warri, there has been a lot of vandalization, pipe vandalization, and the rest of them. What are the concerns? Are these just people volatility, or there are core issues that have been left unhandled, that have not been properly handled, that are responsible for these security concerns, right? There is no security concern that does not have either political interest or agitation from the people, from the stakeholders. So there is the need for what is stakeholders dialogue, right? That this, if this must work in the interest of all, right? If this is a national project and you are Nigerians as well, these security concerns must what be addressed. Why the security concerns? Who are those involved? Who are the infiltrator? What is the report? What is the intelligence report from the security architecture of the nation? What are they doing? What has been the trend, right? Where are these infiltrations coming from, right? And since we know the worth of our investment and what we stand to lose, then they need to sit down and have what a win-win stakeholders dialogue will enable us have peaceful coexistence within this particular region. Like you said, there has to be a value chain system, right? If these security concerns are not addressed, then the congestion in Lagos will not be handled. And as long as that is not taken care of, the investment will not do what it's supposed to do, and the entire nation suffers as a whole, right? So it's good to nip the issue in the bud, to sit down and properly address the issues, the critical issues within those environments. What are their yearnings? What are their pleas? What are their pains? What are their troubles? And how can government come into it? What is the incentive driving the peaceful coexistence of that place? And if there are concerns that can be handled, why not? Handling those concerns are part of the investment viability. The viability of our investment is part of what the stakeholders dialogue. So there is the need to have, in not just having the dialogue, carrying out the content of the dialogue to the letter. Most of the time, government make promises that they never make good. Most of the time, we make promises that we don't make good. And that's the reason why I said the integrity of the process, the integrity of leadership, and the integrity of what the people that are concerned to a large extent determines the health and the viability of any form of investment, especially when it is coming from a borrowed side.
Interesting. I would like to have your take on this argument that one of the factors responsible for the congestion at the seaports is the presence of multiple agencies at the seaports. You have NAFDAC, you have Standard Organization of Nigeria, you have the police, you have NPA, health authority, several agencies. Now, will you support the advocacy for some of these agencies to be scrapped, or the activities at the seaports be eliminated to be able to improve the level of operation, or rather introduce technology in order to bring efficiency to doing businesses at the seaports? What's your argument and what's your take on this?
I believe that technology can solve that problem. Technology is the fastest means to solving that problem. The essence of technology is to save you time, save you stress, save you money. Right. There will be arguments that the introduction of technology would probably take away some jobs, right? But I have a proponent of the fact that technology can't take your job, right? All you have to do is, technology is garbage in, garbage out. You just have to learn the skills that the machine does if you don't want the machine to take your job. Simple. Now we can upgrade all these agencies that work at the port to work from their office. What's the essence of remote work? That's what technology can do. Everything that has to be done on the seaport have a process. All it takes, service efficiency needs a map. Once you are able to create a map that shows you the flow chart, who, at what stage is this particular agency required, it is very simple to logically have an organized alignment of the service delivery. And with that, technology can swiftly do that.
Early exchange, shaping policy, advancing development.